Incarnation third graders. We are back today with your reading lesson for the week. Today I'm going to introduce the story you'll be reading this week. It's called Sarah, Plain and Tall, and we're going to begin on page 202 with our vocabulary and context. So just follow along. First, I want to talk about the fact that this story is a historical fiction. That means it's a fictional story, but it takes place in the past, and it has events and characters from the past. So when we read this story, we want to think about the time period that it's in. It's not in present day. It is historical, so it's in the past. Let's start with the vocabulary. I'm going to go ahead and read the definition, and then we're going to read the sentences together. The first word is prairie. Say that word again with me. Prairie. You may remember this from geography way back at the beginning of the year. A prairie is an area of flat or rolling land covered mostly with grass. Let's read the sentence together. Few trees can be found on the flat or rolling land of the prairie. So we know that word from studying it in social studies. Second word, slick. Say that word again with me. Slick. Slick means smooth and slippery. When we think of something that's slick, we often think of ice. Read the sentence with me. Walk carefully. The ice is slick, and you may fall easily. Our third word down here is the word fetch. Say it again with me. Fetch. What this word means, to get something and bring it back. Fetch is sort of an old-fashioned word. We don't hear it often. You don't really say, hey mom, can you go fetch me a glass of water? This is definitely a word that was used in the past, and this is one of the clues that tells us it's a historical fiction story. In today's world, we would say, can you go get me a glass of water? So fetch is just an old-fashioned word. Let's read the sentence together. She took buckets to fetch water for the animals to drink. The next word, clattered. Say it with me. Clattered. If something is clattered, it has made a crashing sound. So this is just a sound word. Read the sentence with me. The children covered their ears when the horse and carriage clattered by. And we are going to read about a horse and carriage, so that does make sense that we're using the word clattered. Word number 5, sniff. Say that word with me. Sniff. Sniff means to breathe through your nose while making a short noise. We all know what this word is. Read the sentence with me. The skunk stopped to sniff or smell the flower. It had a nice scent. The next word is rough. Read the word with me. Rough. Rough means it's not smooth or even. So it's sort of the opposite of the word slick over here. Rough, we've all heard of the texture rough. This is in terms of the bark is rough on the tree. Let's read the sentence together. Ouch, the bark on the old tree is rough to the touch. Number 7, thumped. Read that word again with me. Thumped. Thumped means to beat with an object to create a dull noise. So sometimes you could talk about your feet thumping, or you thumped a drum, so it's just another sound word. Read the sentence with me. The children thumped their feet as they learned the steps of the dance. Number 8, batted. Read that word with me. Batted. Batted means swung at and hit. It's sort of like you have something holding in the air and you just keep hitting it back and forth. That's what batted means. Read the sentence with me. The curious puppy batted or hit the sock with its paw. Next word, buzzing. Read the word with me. Buzzing. Buzzing means to make a humming sound. Read the sentence with me. After buzzing around, this bee landed on a wildflower. The last word is rustle. Read that word with me. Rustle. Rustle means a soft sound made when something or someone moves. You often hear of you use the word in terms of like a rustling through the leaves that make a crunching sound. Read the sentence with me. Walking through the piles of dry leaves makes a soft rustle. Okay, please turn your books to the next page. And this just gives us a little information about what life was like in this story. This story talks about pioneer life. Again, it's a historical fiction. So listen as I read about pioneer life. The pioneers were brave, independent people who left their homes in cities, villages, and farms in the east to move to the west. The western lands were mostly unknown. There was no roads to guide new settlers and no towns to welcome them. So we're talking about, the east part of the country. A lot of people are building and making homes, but the west has been not really explored much. So these people are moving their life to a new land and nothing is there, so they have to create their own life. The pioneers risked great danger to move to the west. Once they found a place to settle, they had to be self-sufficient. They lived far from towns and from other settlers. Their courage is a quality that Americans still celebrate today. In Sarah, Plain and Tall, you'll read about the challenges one of these pioneer families faced. That word self-sufficient, we're going to see a lot of that in this story. They had to be independent. They had to make their own food. They had to grow their own food. They had a lot of animals on a farm that helped provide those things for them. They were not a mile from a Walmart or a mile from a grocery store or things. They had to create those things for themselves. Okay, let's go ahead and set a purpose for reading. Good readers always set a purpose for reading, and we look down at the essential question down here. What was life on the prairie like for the pioneers? So when we think about this story, we've talked about some vocabulary words, we've talked about pioneer life, and now we're going to read a story. And while you're reading, I would think, what is life like in the prairie for the pioneers? We want to kind of think about all the details that it took for them to be self-sufficient in this, on this prairie. Also, the title is Sarah, Plain and Tall. So I'm thinking to myself, well, who is Sarah? So as you're reading, you're going to ask yourself, who is Sarah, and maybe the other characters in the story as well. We're going to go ahead and start this story together. So turn your pages to the first part of the story and follow along in your book with me, or read it out loud. Anna Whitting lived on a farm on the prairie with her father and her younger brother Caleb. Caleb likes to hear about Mama, who died soon after he was born and who loved to sing. One night, Papa tells the children he has put an advertisement in the newspaper for a wife. Their neighbor's new wife, Maggie, had come in answer to an advertisement. Papa reads the letter he received from Sarah, who lives with her brother near the sea in Maine. Papa, Anna, and Caleb write letters to Sarah. They find out that she has a cat named Seal and that she sings. Now Sarah is coming for a month's visit to see how it is. And back in the pioneer times, that is not unusual that if someone passes away, that the father would then just write a letter to ask for help on the farm. As we look at this next page, you will notice that look at the farm. It's very secluded. It's not a town. There's not buildings close by. Everything is spread out. There's a lot of animals here. There's a lot that they have that they are providing for themselves. All right, we're going to start right here on this page. Sarah came in the spring. She came through green grass fields that bloomed with Indian paintbrush, red and orange and blue-eyed grass. Papa got up early for the long day's trip to the train back. He brushed his hair so slick and shiny that Caleb laughed. He wore a clean blue shirt and a belt instead of suspenders. He fed and watered the horses, talking to them as he hitched them up in the wagon. Old Bess, calm and kind. Jack, wide-eyed, reaching over to nip Bess in the neck. "Clear day, Bess," said Papa, rubbing her nose. "Settle down, Jack." He leaned his head on Jack. And then Papa drove off along the dirt road to fetch Sarah, Papa's new wife, maybe our new mother. Gophers ran back and forth across the road, stopping to stand up and watch the wagon. Far off in the field, a woodchuck ate and listened. So you can see this, that Papa hitched up the horse and wagon and left the children there, as this was going to be a longer trip. He couldn't just go into the garage and get his car or drive into town. This was probably going to be a full day trip with a horse and carriage. Caleb and I did our chores without talking. We shoveled out the stalls and laid down new hay. We fed the sheep. We swept and straightened and carried wood and water. And then our chores were done. Caleb pulled on my shirt. "Is my face clean?" he asked. "Can my face be too clean?" He looked alarmed. "No, your face is not clean, but not too clean," I said. Caleb slipped his hand into mine as we stood on the porch watching the road. He was afraid. "Will she be nice?" he asked. "Like Maggie?" "Sarah will be nice," I told him. "How far away is Maine?" he asked. "You know how far. Far away by the sea." "Will Sarah bring some sea?" he asked. "No, you cannot bring the sea." So here the children are getting themselves ready, and they've done all their chores. And most of their chores probably took the whole day, because that's how the children helped in the pioneer times. We're going to start this page. The sheep ran in the field, and far off the cows moved slowly in the pond like turtles. "Will she like us?" Caleb asked softly. I watched a marsh hawk wheel down behind the barn. He looked up at me. "Of course she will like us," he answered his own question. "We are nice," he added, making me smile. We waited and watched. I rocked on the porch, and Caleb rolled a marble on the wooden floor. Back and forth, back and forth. The marble was blue. We saw the dust from the wagon first, rising above the road above the heads of Jack and old Bess. Caleb climbed up on the porch roof and shaded his eyes. "A bonnet," he cried. "I see a yellow bonnet." That's where we're going to stop reading together. You can go ahead and finish that story on your own, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Happy reading!